Perfection. For much of my life, it was the invisible standard, a silent rule that governed how I spoke, acted, and even thought. I pursued faultlessness in everything I did, convinced that if I could only get it all exactly right, I would finally be worthy of acceptance, success, and most of all, peace. But what began as a quest for self-improvement gradually morphed into a cage. One built from anxiety, self-doubt, and relentless comparison. The pursuit of perfection, I would learn, is not a path to freedom, but one to exhaustion. Looking back, I see how early the seeds of perfectionism were planted. In school, I strived for straight A's, believing that anything less was failure. At home, I tried to be the ideal child, determined not to disappoint. Among friends, I measured every word, afraid that a single misstep would reveal some unforgivable flaw. I internalized the notion that mistakes were shameful, that imperfection equaled inadequacy. The pressure mounted as I entered adulthood. The stakes felt higher: the right job, the right relationships, the right decisions. I agonized over every email, every presentation, every social interaction. I replayed conversations in my head, searching for errors. When things didn't go as planned, I blamed myself, convinced that I had fallen short. My inner critic was relentless, always reminding me how far I had yet to go. For years, I believed that striving for perfection was a virtue. I thought it meant I cared, that I was ambitious and driven. But slowly, the costs became clear. The fear of making mistakes kept me from trying new things. I hesitated to speak up, worried that my ideas weren't good enough. I took fewer risks, afraid of failure. The more I chased perfection, the smaller my world became. One day, I realized that my quest for flawlessness was robbing me of joy. I was missing out on experiences, relationships, and growth, all because I was so focused on avoiding imperfection. It was then that I began to question, what if imperfection wasn't something to fear or hide, but something to accept, even embrace? What if freedom lay not in being perfect, but in letting go? The journey to embracing imperfection was not a sudden leap, but a series of small, often uncomfortable steps. It started with admitting that perfection is an illusion. No one, I realized, ever truly attains it. Life is messy and unpredictable, and so are people. Mistakes, missteps, and failures are not signs of weakness, but evidence of trying, of living. I began to notice how much energy I spent on self-criticism. Whenever I made a mistake, I practiced speaking to myself with kindness rather than judgment. Instead of saying, "How could you be so stupid?" I tried, "It's okay, everyone makes mistakes." At first, it felt unnatural, even indulgent, but over time, the harsh inner monologue softened. Compassion became a habit. Gradually, I learned to share my imperfections with others. I admitted when I didn't know the answer or when I needed help. I let go of the need to have everything figured out before taking action. Vulnerability, I discovered, is not weakness, but courage. The courage to show up as you are, flaws and all. Far from pushing people away, my honesty deepened connections. Others opened up in return, and I realized that imperfection is the fabric of humanity. What binds us together? I started to reframe failure, seeing it not as a final verdict, but as feedback. Every setback became an opportunity to learn and grow. When I stumbled, I asked, "What can this teach me?" Instead of hiding my mistakes, I talked about them openly. In doing so, I found freedom, the freedom to experiment, to innovate, to risk. Knowing that imperfection is not the end but the beginning, letting go of perfectionism also meant relinquishing control. I accepted that I cannot plan for every outcome or anticipate every challenge. Life is full of surprises, some delightful, some difficult. By loosening my grip on how things should be, I made space for what they could be. I learned to trust myself, not because I would always get it right, but because I could handle whatever came. This mindset shift transformed how I approached my work, relationships, and personal growth. In my career, I dared to take on projects that scared me, knowing that I wouldn't get everything perfect the first time. I became more creative, more resilient, and more open to collaboration. In my personal life, I allowed myself to be seen, unpolished, unfiltered, real. I stopped waiting for the perfect moment and started living in the present. The pursuit of perfection had been a heavy burden, but embracing imperfection brought lightness. I found joy in the process rather than the outcome. I celebrated progress, not just results. I laughed at my mistakes, grateful for the lessons they taught. I gave myself permission to rest, recognizing that rest is not laziness, but self-care. Over time, I noticed a profound shift. I felt free. Free from the constant pressure to perform, free from the fear of judgment, free from the need to please everyone. I became more adventurous, more authentic, more at peace. My relationships deepened, my creativity blossomed, and my sense of self grew stronger. Embracing imperfection does not mean giving up on growth or settling for mediocrity. It means understanding that growth happens through trial and error, through stumbling and standing up again. It means striving to do your best, but accepting that your best will sometimes fall short. It means loving yourself, not because you are perfect, but because you are human. Whenever I feel the old pull of perfectionism, I remind myself that imperfection is not a flaw to be fixed, but a truth to be honored. Every scar, every misstep, every unfinished project is part of my story. They are proof of my courage to try, my willingness to learn, and my capacity to grow. So if you find yourself trapped by the pursuit of perfection, know that you are not alone. Freedom begins when you choose to let go, when you trade the impossible standard of flawlessness for the beautiful reality of being human. You may stumble, you may fall, but you will rise not because you are perfect, but because you are resilient. In embracing imperfection, I found not only freedom, but joy. I became a participant in life rather than a spectator, daring to be seen, to fail, to begin again. The path is not always easy, but it is rich with possibility. And as I continue to walk it, I am grateful for every imperfect step, every lesson learned, and every moment of true, unburdened freedom.